We are joined by someone who this week returned to politics, and I'm fascinated to find out why he would, after the career he's had, to run and take a tilt at the mayoralty of Wellington, and the danger of being self-indulgent as a Wellingtonian. I think what has happened in local body politics in Wellington is interesting to the rest of the country. We have a woman described by some as the Wahine disaster, Tory Whanau, as the Mayor of Wellington. And we have a council that has been riven and doesn't seem to be able to get its act together on things. And Wellington is in a sorry state. So I was somewhat surprised, to be honest, when the rumours started coming out that a former Labour politician who served as a cabinet minister, indeed leader of the Labour Party up to just prior to the 2017 general election, former Minister of Justice, Andrew Little, was having a tilt, and he joins us by video now. Are you entirely insane, Andrew, to get back into politics?
The question's been asked, but look, Wellington's got some major problems, and things haven't been going well. I had been asked before. I said no. I was quite happily going back to law practice, enjoying my law practice. The crescendo got louder, and there was a bunch of people from right across the political spectrum and different interests who really sort of prevailed on me. In the end, I thought, look, I do have a set of skills. I'm used to dealing with an array of people, difficult people, awkward people, and can bring people together. So in the end, I thought I'll give it a go.
All right. You are a Labour or will be a Labour endorsed candidate, effectively
Yes.
a Labour candidate. Okay. Yeah. Will you head a ticket made up of Labour candidates for councillors?
No, I run my mayoral campaign. My mayoral campaign is my campaign. Obviously, I'll work with other candidates, Labour candidates, but I've got my team in place running my campaign.
Okay, but you are a Labour candidate?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. In the interest of transparency, who funds that campaign?
Well, one of the first things is to get out and fundraise. So I've had plenty of offers of contributions so far, but we'll get the fundraising machinery in place and get that underway.
Okay,
so
and you'll disclose who's paying for the fundraising?
I beg your pardon?
Will you disclose who's funding you?
Well, if they meet the conditions for disclosure, sure, but I expect it'll be a lot of reasonably small contributions at this stage.
Okay, there are a couple of groups that have formed in the last year or so around Wellington local body. There's Better Wellington, and there's Vision Wellington that have had a number of high-profile events. My understanding is that Vision Wellington are kind of backing you. Can you comment on that?
I haven't had any contact with Vision Wellington.
You've talked to people who are in Vision Wellington, I know that.
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, you've talked to people who are part of Vision Wellington, though, haven't you?
They haven't disclosed that. I've had contact from people from Vision Wellington, and I've had people setting me up with meetings for people from Vision Wellington. They're yet to happen, but so I'll get to meet with them. I haven't heard from Better Wellington, and in fairness, I haven't reached out to Better Wellington, but no doubt that contact will be made at some point.
All right. Presumably you're running because you think Tory Whanau isn't doing much of a job.
Well, I think the council hasn't done much of a job. I don't, Mayor plays a leadership role, but in the end, it's the council makes decisions or doesn't make decisions, as the case may be. And I think Wellington's in trouble. I think there's not good decision making, and that needs to change.
Yeah. Also, part of the problem is that no matter who is mayor, and I think you've identified this, we've had a council that hasn't had a cohesive membership, and maybe people who aren't prepared to put certain interests aside in the interest of coming together and running a functional local body. And in many ways, whether, if you were to win this mayoralty, if you're delivered a dysfunctional council, there's still nothing you can really do. Or are you saying your skills would be that you would be able to make a disparate group of people functional as a council?
I think I've had experience where I've dealt with what is often been described as dysfunctional and difficult personalities, exuberant personalities, people with completely different ideas, and have been able to find enough common ground to get people to sort of move cohesively. So I think I can. I think my track record is I engage pretty broadly. I'm very clear in my views and my political leanings and where I come from. But I reached out to others with diametrically opposite views if I need to work for people. I think Wellington City needs that. I think it's actually good to have a variety of different views. I think this thing about arguments around the council table is, my view is there should be arguments around the council table. There should be differing views expressed. Residents should know that there are councillors with different views. What you've got to do is then turn that into a decision that everybody sticks with and carries out. And it's got to be a decision that reflects the needs of Wellingtonians. So
All right.
I think I can do that.
Okay. Have you ever won an electorate to become an MP?
No, I've stood twice in New Plymouth, but didn't succeed in either of
Okay,
those
so
elections.
track record-wise, in terms of running your own campaign and campaigning yourself, that's not great, is it?
No, I've run those two electorate campaigns and didn't get elected in New Plymouth, but entered Parliament on the list.
Yeah, okay. So, but standing as mayor alone, you've got to make it. There's no list if you're running for mayor of Wellington, is there?
That's the way it works, yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right. So you're in sort of uncharted territory. Are you standing for council as well?
Not uncharted in terms of running an election campaign. So done an election campaign.
Are you running for council as well as mayor, or is this all or nothing?
No, I'm running for mayor only.
Okay. All right. What do you think of the other candidates that are emerging? What do you think of Ray Chung?
I haven't met Ray. I know Ray from the media reports about what he says and does. I'm always conscious that media reports don't capture the whole of the person. So at some point I will no doubt meet Ray. That's pretty much my knowledge of Ray.
All right. Okay. You've obviously met Tory Whanau?
Met Tory Whanau. It'd be probably 2 years since I last had a conversation with her.
You would have known her when she was working for the Greens at Parliament?
Working for the Greens,
Yeah. Okay. I have to ask this because we elected her and then we found she had these issues that she talked about ad infinitum to the chosen media. Do you have any ADHD?
No, my health is good.
Do you have autism, or do you suspect you have autism or imposter syndrome?
No.
Okay. Do you have a drinking problem?
No.
That is bloody good to hear. Okay. I'm just glad we got that on the record and we cleared the books. How would, and I think the perception from the text I'm getting, Andrew, is that you would still be a left, and I'll use the common parlance, which you'll hate, woke mayor. How would you be different from Tory Whanau in the policies and priorities for Wellington City, were you mayor?
Yeah, I will be a left mayor, but then I was a left-wing union leader engaging with some of the biggest corporates, some of the biggest organisations, and possibly, arguably, some of the most right-wing people in politics. I did the same. When I got the job of being responsible for implementing end-of-life choice, which was an ACT Party policy platform, I engaged with the ACT Party people, David Seymour and Brooke Van Velden, to be fair. So who was the real sort of motivating force behind it. I deal with people. I take them at face value. If people have differing views to me, that's fine. That's great. That's what a democracy should have. I am not so insecure in my views that I can't deal with people with opposing views and have a sensible, constructive approach to it. That's what I will bring to the bureau.
All right. You've talked already, though, about more social housing.
Yep.
Having a more diverse city. Right.
All
Wellingtonians, it seems to me, want is not to have their rates go through the roof and to live in a city which has got pipes that are fixed and not live in a city that's been destroyed by cycleways.
Yeah, well, we need a council that is controlling its spending and managing its spending properly. 30% rate increases over 2 years is unacceptable. And when it comes to the pipes and infrastructure, I mean, we've got the new water entity thing that's sort of on the program. That's going to take some negotiation to make sure that Wellington water services are the best we can get, and get the best out of that. That's going to take some skill to do that. I'm confident that I can do that.
Okay.
And then you're right, making sure that the basics of a good city, its facilities, its amenities, are being provided and looked after.
So would you put a pin in social housing and more social housing and homelessness until those basic problems are fixed?
But there are a lot of problems, and they've all got to be addressed. We've got a big problem with housing affordability, so getting housing construction moving. But with social housing, particularly with the growing homelessness problem, we've got to address that as well. Those are all important things to do. You don't sort of go into a role like this and do one thing at a time. There are multiple issues that have to be addressed. But the issue about financial control and expenditure, keeping control of rates, is a top priority. The thing about getting
So
infrastructure
where would you
sorted,
save the money to get rates down?
Yeah, well, the council will do their sort of opening of the books at some point before the election. We'll have a good look there. From what I've seen,
So the question was, where do you conceptually plan to save money to keep rates down?